Thanks, Edith. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's afternoon by me, so that probably means it's afternoon by all of you guys as well, since we're on the West Coast. Thank you all for joining us. And let's just go ahead and get started to discuss what you need to know about the diversity visa. Before we get started and dive right into all of that, just want to share a little bit just more about our firm. We are Alcorn Immigration Law, and as the slide says, we overcome borders, expand opportunity, and connect the world by practicing compassionate, cutting edge, and rigorous immigration law in the service of the betterment of humanity. This is me, Anita Koumriqian. I am one of the partners here at Alcorn Immigration Law, as mentioned. I have experience practicing family law, and my specific expertise with immigration is family-based immigration, but I do it all. I do all of the business immigration needs as well at our practice. I'm the partner that kind of handles all of our cases that do come in and out. What I love about immigration is I'm an immigrant myself, so I really feel for and have been in the shoes of all of my clients before. I moved to the US. I was 4 years old, so maybe I don't remember every single bit of the journey, but I was born in Iraq. I'm raised Armenian. Ethnically, I'm 100% Armenian, and I'm very proud to be an American. That's me down there. That's my little green card. It's not green, it's pink. And as you see right here, we'll discuss it at the very end, but resident alien, this is what we originally were called when we first came to the US. And I hated that. And that's actually one of the first things that, one of the few first things that President Biden has changed since he's been in office. He's said, let's stop calling them aliens. Let's just call them non-residents instead. And I think that's pretty awesome. This is our incredible team. Without these incredible men and women on our team, we wouldn't be the firm that we are. We wouldn't be able to support and help all of the individuals that we help. They're all either immigrants themselves, children of immigrants, married to an immigrant. So again, for everybody that works at our firm, obviously it's not a requirement, but it hits home. Immigration law hits home for us all. So it really gets us to really hone in that compassion aspect of the work that we do. This is the network of individuals that we support, that we're supported by. I'm very grateful for our excellent network. And then just a quick immigration law overview. There's two main pathways that somebody can obtain status here in the United States. And it's either you enter the United States with a visa, and then eventually you can become a green card holder. And then from there, you can graduate and apply for US citizenship in 3 to 5 years. Or you can enter the United States right away with your green card. You don't necessarily have to get a visa first. You can just apply to get a green card at a consulate, or be sponsored to get a green card rather at a consulate. And that's exactly the pathway that my family went down. We didn't have visas. We just came straight away with our green cards. Immigration during COVID. Man, has it been a wild ride? It has been a very, very interesting year and a half as we are still dealing with the pandemic, and kind of just giving a very high level overview of what immigration has looked like over the course of the last year and a half. Just delayed. I can tell you across the board, everything is just really delayed. We're experiencing delays in cases being scheduled for interview, receipt notices being received, cases being scheduled for biometrics, case approvals, all across the board. There's just been a lot of delays with the immigration system, which is really frustrating as an immigration attorney, because oftentimes one of the very first questions that somebody will ask us is, well, how long is this process going to take me? Pre-COVID, I was able to give a decent approximation of how long the process would take in terms of getting your green card, getting a visa or whatever. And now it's kind of I can give you a very big approximation, but don't hold me to it, because it's just kind of all very much up in the air. The consulates across the around the world and just kind of across the globe are still very much closed and really operating on very minimal capacity, which is really just adding to that backlog, adding to that delay. So it's been rough, but should that preclude you or kind of dissuade you from getting the immigration support, what it is that you want done? Absolutely not. You should still apply. You should still attempt to get through the system as quickly as you can, but you just have to mentally prepare yourself that it's going to take a little bit longer than hopefully than you originally were expecting. USCIS right now, locally, they are accepting telephonic appearances, which is pretty cool. I have been attending most interviews with our clients telephonically. It's what USCIS is requesting, and it's what they're preferring actually, even with the lift and changes and just kind of more leniency with the pandemic and after people have been vaccinated, USCIS still prefers that just limit the body count in these buildings, because the officers that are interviewing these applicants, they're weary. They don't want to be being with too many people in the public. So telephonic appearances are good, and I don't know how long they will stay, but hopefully they will be an option for a while. The proclamation that functioned as a visa ban that was not allowing people to get H-1Bs, Ls, O visas, unless there was an emergency that qualified under their national interest exceptions, that has been lifted, but there are still restrictions in place that are preventing people to enter the United States. You can't enter the United States straight away if you're coming in from the Schengen area, from the UK, from India, Brazil, a handful of other countries as well. And it's just simply, people are having a hard time scheduling appointments and them not being canceled. So it kind of is what it is in terms of COVID right now. If you have to go in there knowing that it's going to take a while. And before you make any travel moves, before you do anything, consult with an attorney first, because we have had some people who left the United States without consulting us, and they kind of got stuck outside of the United States. So consult with an attorney before you do leave the US, so that we can make sure that you can actually successfully re-enter the US. New entry requirement, in order right now to enter the United States, regardless of who you are, where you're coming from, US citizens, green card holders, visa holders as well, you have to present a negative COVID test in order to gain access into the United States. You have to show a negative result to the airline before you board your flight, or if you test positive, you have to get a letter from a doctor explaining, although you've tested positive, that you are not contagious and you're good to fly and just be out in the public. The moment we've all been waiting for, the diversity lottery. Enough of that COVID stuff, huh? Let's move on and get into the meat of what you guys have joined me here today. So what is the diversity lottery? A lot of people will ask about it. Oh, what is it? What is it going to give me? Well, it's a pure lottery. You put your name into a specific online portal, and each year 50,000 people will be randomly selected to get their green card. They're from specific countries that individuals will qualify for the diversity visa. It's a lottery. So put your name in, and hopefully you are able to be selected and then eventually get your green card. The countries that are selected for the diversity lottery that are allowed to be a part of the diversity visa system are for countries that don't send too many immigrants to the US. So what the US is trying to do is diversify. They're trying to have people enter the United States from various countries, and they're giving them green cards for it. So on a yearly basis, what we recommend people to do is put your name in, get that lotto ticket, basically. So between early October through early November, you can apply for the lottery. And basically the only qualification is that you have to be born in a country that is a diversity visa participant, and you have to have specific education or work experience in order to qualify as well. Here are a list of countries that unfortunately are not eligible for the diversity lottery, simply because, like the previous slide said, there's already a lot of immigrants, green card holders from these countries. So unfortunately, these countries do not qualify for the diversity lottery, but all others, most others do qualify. So basically what the process looks like, all is done actually really, really quickly. If you go through this process and if you are selected, it's going to be very, very zippy. So first you submit an entry and hopefully you're selected. So you submit that entry, and then once there's a list of those who are, not a list, you'll get notification that you've been selected in the DV, the diversity visa. And then once you're selected, you have to wait for the visa bulletin. Once the visa bulletin for you becomes current, depending on the number that you were given when you were in that selection category, with that you check the visa bulletin, and then you can go through and you can carry on with the rest of your application. You submit an application either with the National Visa Center or locally with USCIS. You provide supporting documents, you prepare for an interview, and you go to that interview. All of this has to happen before September the 30th of the fiscal year for which you were selected. So right now, individuals who were selected in the DV 2021 fiscal year, these individuals have to get their green card before September the 30th of this year, or they lose their chance of getting their green card based off of the diversity lottery. So if you are selected, work with a knowledgeable attorney who can help guide you throughout the process so that they can make sure that you can get your green card before time is up. So to submit an entry, there's a limited time period every fiscal year for which you can register for the diversity lottery. You go onto the Department of State website, and they'll give you instructions as to exactly what it is that you have to do to register for the DV, the diversity visa program, including the dates for the registration period as well. And it's free. You don't even have to pay anything in order to just put your name in there. And again, if you're selected, that's when it really does start to move in. So once you're selected, it's a complete random selection every year based off of each country and each region. So it's usually in May that you will be notified that you've been selected for that fiscal year, or for the next fiscal year rather. And then from there, as soon as you continue to check the visa bulletin to make sure that your case will move along, then the rest of the case will move along with you as well. So again, if you're selected, you're encouraged to file a DS-260 right away so that your case starts to move along, so that your case can be forwarded along to the appropriate embassy or consulate so that they know that you're there, your case should be scheduled for interview, and all of that. If you are outside of the US, that's when you should be filing the DS-260. If you are inside of the United States with valid status of your own, don't file a DS-260. You actually will just have to wait for the visa bulletin to become current, and we'll look at the visa bulletin in a second. But we just have to make sure that the visa bulletin is current, and then you file the adjustment of status application. So just be mindful of, are you in the US? Are you out of the US? In the US, you file adjustment of status. Outside of the US, you go through you have to file the DS-260 and you go through the consulate in order to have your case be moved along. And the main thing is that you have to qualify for the diversity lottery. Again, you have to be born in a country that is a part of the diversity lottery program, and you have to have at least a high school education or its equivalent, or have 2 years of qualifying work experience. You have to provide your passport, and then you have to make sure that you meet all other eligibility requirements in order to qualify just for a green card in general. No crimes, or let's say no crimes. And of course you just have to overall qualify to get an immigration benefit. Submitting the immigrant visa and the alien registration application. So this is where we can actually come in and help. We honestly, and I can genuinely tell you, we don't really do the beginning aspect or that beginning portion of it because people will usually put themselves into the lottery. It's an easy process. You provide that minimal information that they're requiring, but then once you find out that you have been selected, that's when you should reach out to us. That's when you should reach out to any immigration attorney, and we can help you in filing the rest of the application as soon as, again, you qualify or as soon as the visa bulletin becomes current, because what's key is making sure that you get your green card on or hopefully not on because it's cutting it a little close, but hopefully we can get it for you before September 30th of that fiscal year, or else unfortunately you will lose your opportunity of getting your green card through that year's fiscal lottery. So here we list out again that visa bulletin, so you kind of get an understanding of how quickly the visa bulletin for the most part moves and just how the process works. So November 2020, this is the first month of USCIS's fiscal year. So you can see it's broken down into these seven countries, or just groups of regions: Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, including the Bahamas, Oceania, and then South America and the Caribbean. So when you're selected in the diversity lottery, you will know exactly which category you fall under. And then so you will have to go into the visa bulletin to make sure to see how quickly the cases are moving along. The lower your case number is when you are selected, the higher the likelihood will be that your case will be approved before the end of that fiscal year, again, which is September the 30th. So you can see here, it moves kind of quickly, but kind of slowly. So the beginning of the fiscal year, it's pretty slow. Look, only 3 for North America. And then over here, we've bumped up to, for Africa, 14,000, Europe, 9,400, whereas before here it was 4,800. So it doubled over the course of about 4 or 5 months. And then here in July, again, this is this year's visa bulletin. We're all straight away current and will be current for July of 2021. I think actually in June it was current as well. But this means if you were selected under the DV 2021 fiscal year, if you haven't already filed your I-485 if you're in the United States, or if your case is not progressing along with the consulate, it's time to intervene. It's time to make sure that you work with an attorney to make sure that you're on track to get your green card before the end of the fiscal year. So if you're going through the consular processing pathway, meaning you're not in the United States, you don't have status in the United States that will outstand or outlast until September the 30th, then you will go through the consular processing route. And with that, you have to make sure that your DS-260 is fully submitted, make sure that it's processed, read the instructions on what it is exactly that you have to do to submit the DS-260, and provide all of the information and documents that are required from you as well. You upload that to the National Visa Center portal. Your interview will not be scheduled until they can confirm that you have uploaded all of the information and documents that are requested and needed from you. So a lot of it's mostly vital documents that they're requesting: birth certificate, marriage certificate, divorce certificate, police records as well, and making sure that you don't have any records, because it's just a part of the National Visa Center and consular processing. You have to provide the police records, the military records, the court records to the National Visa Center. And of course, so in addition to all of that, you also have to make sure that you're providing your educational documents that establish that you qualify to get your green card through the diversity lottery program. If you're going through the adjustment of status process, again, similar idea, but instead of filing the DS-260, You have to file an I-485, the adjustment of status green card application here in the United States, as soon as the visa bulletin is current for you. You have to make sure that it's filed very quickly. And not only are you just filing the green card application, you're also following up with the local office, the consulate, whoever it is, so that they know that your case needs to be prioritized. Your case has to be scheduled for interview. That, I hope that is the one takeaway that you can get from this this webinar today, that time is of the essence here. You have to move quickly. And then from there, it's preparing for your interview. Once your case is scheduled along, or is all of the information and documents are submitted, and your case is actually scheduled for interview, after all of that hard work of making sure that you're following up with the consulate, following up with the local office, calling USCIS, making sure that they know that your case has to be scheduled for interview ASAP, then you have to actually prepare for the interview that you were scheduled for. Make sure that you know where it is that you have to go, where you have to go. Make sure that you're taking together with you all of the information and documents that are required. And then this last portion over here, make sure that you pay that fee, that diversity lottery fee. It has to get paid to the Kentucky Consular Center. You provide them with a payment via cashier's check, and they send you a receipt back. That receipt is needed before they can approve your case. So be very, very careful and make sure that you have already paid that fee in advance, and that you have that record, that receipt with you. But this often holds up people's cases, so please make sure that this fee is paid. And then you attend the interview. Again, if you're outside of the US, you're going to go to an interview in your home country at the consulate that is doing these types of visa interviews in your home country. Or if you're in the United States, it will be scheduled at the local USCIS office based off of where you're currently residing. An officer will conduct the interview and determine whether or not you are eligible to get your green card based off of making sure that you qualify, again, not only to get the green card based off of the diversity lottery, but also that you qualify just otherwise. In order to get your green card, you have to be admissible to the United States in order, obviously, for them to be able to approve the green card and give it to you. The green card that you will be given will be a 10-year green card. It's not a conditional green card. It never will be a conditional green card for you. It will be a straightaway 10-year green card. If you get your green card at the consulate in your home country, you have 6 months to enter the United States. If you get your green card through the adjustment of status process, your green card will come to you in the mail. And at the 5-year anniversary of having your green card, if you've been in the US and of course qualify for citizenship otherwise, you have the ability of becoming a US citizen as well. As a diversity lottery selectee, you have the ability to have your spouse and your children who are under the age of 21 and not married come to the United States with you. They can be your dependents. They can be the dependents of the application. So if you're outside of the US or if you're inside of the US, regardless, whatever it is, make sure that you also file applications for your family members who would qualify as your dependents as well, so that they can get their green cards based off of you as well. And then beyond green cards, US citizenship. So if you are in the United States, you have no trips longer than 6 months in duration over the course of the last 5 years. If you've been in the United States for 50% of the time, if you are a person of good moral character, you have no crimes, you pay your taxes, all of that fun stuff to qualify for US citizenship, you will qualify for US citizenship. Get yourself a US passport. If you, fun fact, are married to a United States citizen and you have been living with that US citizen spouse for 3 years, then you could actually qualify for US citizenship in 3 years instead of 5 years. But again, that requires you to be married to a United States citizen. So a faster pathway for those individuals. And then just in general, the diversity lottery green cards, past citizenship. What has immigration looked like under the Biden administration? it's been a doozy. It was a very interesting previous 4 years under the Trump administration, and the Biden administration have they've already done some good work for us. So we're good. We're grateful. I see that some of you are asking some questions in the chat. Again, please put your questions in the Q&A so that I can respond to your questions as well. Before I go into Biden's plan, let me ask the one question that was asked so far about the diversity lottery program. And then if you have more questions, please make sure to put it in there. I'd be happy to answer, but let me answer this just quickly, and then we'll go from there. If you are not selected when the results are available in May, is it possible that your status could change later on in the year? For the most part, I would say that the status doesn't really change. You either get it, you're either selected, or you're not. It's not like the H-1B lottery over the course of the last 2 years, where we see that people after the process has already gone through, there's a second lottery, there's a second wave. For the most part, there is not a second wave for the diversity lottery, unfortunately. But who knows? Everything's always changing. Maybe it could change this year. So continue to keep an eye out for it. But I don't think that you we probably won't see that, unfortunately. So going back to immigration under Biden, Biden has a 6-pillared immigration plan thus far. The first thing, and he's already done it, is to undo some of Trump's changes, which he has indeed done already. He wants to modernize the immigration system. He wants to be a country that welcomes immigrants. The last 4 years, it's been a kind of an anti-immigrant country. So changing that up, supporting asylum seekers and refugees, supporting people to safely come into the United States. Excuse me, people, he wants to support and provide safety for those in Central and Latin America, and just implementing a more effective border screening. What has he done so far? So since January the 20th, the very first thing almost that he did was he ended the Muslim ban, which was incredible. What the Muslim ban was saying that people from these specific Muslim dominant countries are not allowed, not able to get visas or green cards or seek entry into the United States. So that's incredible that was almost immediately removed. There's deportation changes have been made to protect children. The funding for the walls have been pulled, so no more wall at the border. He's strengthening programs for refugees and asylees, and he has replaced Buy American and Hire American. And then just some proposals as well of what's to come. There is the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 that is changing, is immigration reform. It's changing how immigration is right now. It is going to provide more working visas. We're hoping that there will be a clear backlog. So no more waiting years and years and years to get your green card. So reducing the lengthy priority date wait and eliminating those per country caps, which would be wonderful. Right now, if you're from Mexico, China, India, Vietnam, those are the countries that are just the ones that have the highest migration into the United States. So that's why there are per country caps for those countries. So hopefully the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, if that passes, will reduce that. Providing new green card pathways for those who are STEM grads from U.S. universities, making that H-4, so dependents of H-1B visas, making their EADs permanent. That has always been on the chopping block. So that would be wonderful. Preventing children from aging out. So many children on an annual basis lose the ability to immigrate to the United States with their parents because they age out of the system. So that would be phenomenal. New regional economic development programs. So basically in specific areas of the country, you can petition to go and live in those lightly populated areas of the United States. So that would be pretty wonderful. Keeping families together is a part of it as well. So there's a lot of talk about If somebody has an approved I-130 petition, usually there's still a long time before they can actually enter the United States. So there's talk that once that I-130 is approved, the individual can enter the United States and start working and living in the United States already while they're waiting for their green card to be approved. So to bring families together quickly, eliminating the 3 years and the 10-year bar, making it easier for spouses and children to join their families who are already in the United States, speeding up processing by increasing, again, the number of green cards and recapturing unused green cards. So again, on an annual basis, thousands of green cards are lost because they're just not used. So recapturing them and putting them in other categories. Increasing the number of green cards in the diversity lottery. This would be pretty awesome, huh? Because right now there's only 50,000 that are granted on an annual basis. And then stop using the word alien and change it to non-citizen in our immigration laws. We're already seeing this happen. So it's pretty awesome. And then there's pathways to citizenship. So it is going to be giving individuals the ability who are here on DACA, who are here on TPS, to eventually have a pathway to citizenship. So it's a longer pathway, but it's still a pathway. It's still something giving families hope, giving individuals the peace of mind and the freedom to know that eventually I don't have to hide in the shadows anymore. So it would be absolutely incredible. The DREAM Act is one of the pathways to US citizenship. So it's a 3-step process. First, it starts off with conditional permanent residence, and then eventually we'll graduate over to actual full-on permanent residence, so not conditional status, and then eventually they can apply to become citizens of the US as well. There's 2 different pathways of citizenship bills that are currently in existence, one with the House, one with the Senate. Both of them, for the most part, have the same idea, and they're both, if this happens, will be incredible. Again, it's providing hope for individuals to be able to eventually have a pathway for citizenship. As you can see, it's not a very easy process for these individuals still. It's going to take them 8 years or 10 years. It's a long process. But at the end of the day, keeping in mind, it is still a green card at the end of the day. So no more hiding in shadows. And it's pretty, the individuals who are criminals, individuals who have specific offenses on their record will not be eligible in order to get their green cards through this process, unfortunately. So it's a pretty stringent process still. So that is what we have set out for you today. I know there's a ton of questions in the Q&A. I will very gladly go through them all one by one right now. But before we get into that, consider us at Alcorn a resource. Let us know what we can do to support you. You will be receiving a recording of today's webinar, and as well as a couple of handouts that you see on the screen right now. But otherwise, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast. It's a pretty wonderful podcast that Sophie runs, and I am often a speaker on as well. We have some really neat topics, so go have a listen. There's a new episode every Tuesday. That's our email, our phone number, our website. Let us know what we can do to support you. But let's go ahead and read those questions that you have. One of them, I have already answered that first one. A bit off topic, in the EB5 is the EB5 investment reduced to 500,000? How long would it stay there? Also, if I earn the money in the US, can I still use it to get a green card? Thank you, Anita. You're always helpful. Thank you. That's so sweet. I try to be as helpful as I can. The EB5 investment, the more you invest, the higher likelihood that you're going to have a stronger application. So is it reduced to 500,000? I'm sure you can make an argument that you can get your green card to under that category with a smaller investment. But again, the more you invest, the stronger your application is going to be. Any additional questions about EB5, reach out to us and we will do what we can to support you. Moving on to the next question. oops, I lost it. Does the green card come with an EAD right away, or does one need to apply for an EAD separately? The EAD is the employment authorization document. You do, if you're applying for the adjustment of status in the United States, you should apply, you should file for the combo card as well, which is the work authorization and international travel authorization, forms I-765 and I-131. But very frankly, you're not going to get that combo card because the goal is to get you your green card fast and make sure that we get it before September the 30th. So realistically speaking, if let's say you even have one of those really, really higher numbers, in June actually is when the visa bulletin became current across the board. In July, you should still be expecting to receive your green card by September. So should you file the combo card? Yes. Apply to get that EAD. Are you going to get it? Honestly, probably not. So no, you're not going to get it right away. You're going to get your green card. You don't need a combo card. You want your green card instead. So if you have more questions about that, please do let me know and I can clarify or answer whatever it is that you have. Do all family members need to attend the interview for the green card? Yes. You have to be interviewed in order to get your green card. You do have to be interviewed. So all family members that can be a part of the application will have to attend the interview as well, and we'll have to have separate green card applications as well. They will all have their interviews too. For adjustment of status, do I need to provide any documents that I don't have any arrests or convictions? Nope. The biometrics process will do that. So when you file the green card application, you can actually see, you can actually kind of see it on the list over this handout over here. You will get a copy of this handout, but if you look at it, so you file the application, you get receipt notice, you get the receipt notices, and then you'll be scheduled for biometrics. When you're scheduled for biometrics in the United States, they take care of all of the police clearance and all of that stuff. So you don't have to prove that you don't have to provide police clearances from the countries that you live in or the counties that you live in. You just have to go to your biometrics appointment. If you do have any arrests or convictions, obviously you have to provide those criminal records to show and to verify that you still do qualify and are still eligible to get your green card. But if you don't have any, you don't have to worry about it. I am a TN visa holder. Is there any provisions under Biden news plan to allow TN holders a pathway to a green card without family or employer sponsorship? Nothing that I've heard thus far about that. But my recommendation with this is have your employer put you into the H-1B lottery on an annual basis so that you can go from TN to H, and then from H you can go through the perm and green card process. So definitely something that you should have your employer do on an annual basis, put you into the H-1B lottery so that eventually you can get your green card through that process as well. What type of questions will be asked during the interview? That's such a good question. Nobody's asked me that question before. So the types of questions that are asked at time of interview, they actually, for the most part, will fully go through either the DS-260 if you're going to the consulate, or the I-485. So all of those questions they're going to go through with you. They're going to confirm your name, your date of birth, where you're currently living, what your mailing address is, where you're currently employed, where have you been employed for the past 5 years, where are you currently living, where have you been living for the past 5 years. And they will go through on the forms. There's what feels like a trillion yes or no questions. Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been convicted of any crimes and not arrested? Have you ever been placed into deportation proceedings? Have you ever been denied a visa? Have you ever, what are the other questions? Are you entering the United States to engage in prostitution? That one usually gets a giggle out of some people. Are you a communist? Are you a terrorist? Have you ever committed genocide? Have you ever denied people the liberty and the freedom to practice his or her religion? So questions of that nature. They will also confirm and verify that you, of course, have all of your documents with you, your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, your passport, divorce certificate if you're divorced, children's birth certificates if you have any children. And you have to provide them with your educational documents. Take your diplomas with you, take your transcripts with you, anything that you need to do to prove that you're eligible to get your green card, take all of those documents with you. And for the most part, the officers, they're nice. They're not trying to trick you or intimidate you. They're asking you questions. Pretend like you're having a conversation with a very nosy new friend that wants to know a lot of information about you. So with that, those are for the most part the types of questions that they'll be asking you. If you have more questions about that, shoot me back and I'll make sure to answer it. What is the current status of the 2021 legislation in Congress? It's still there. We're still waiting. Nothing, no news yet. No news is good news because that means it wasn't completely rejected. So we're still, we still have our eyes peeled, sitting on the edges of our seat to see what is going to happen there. That's a great question. Should I include military records in the adjustment of status application? If you were part of the military, yes, you should absolutely include that in the application. If you go onto the reciprocity table on the Department of State website, it will tell you exactly what records you will have to present in order to give what they're asking for. Let's see, let's check the chat to make sure we have no additional questions. Any other questions I can answer for all of you here this afternoon? We'll wait a couple of more seconds, but again, thank you all for joining me today. Again, consider us resources. If you have been selected in the diversity lottery, please, please, please reach out so that we can support you in getting your green card before the end of the fiscal year. Oh, one more question. If the selection process for the DV lottery is random, what gets applications rejected? Improper filing, not providing the correct application information that's being requested, not providing the documents that are needed, not doing it in a timely manner, and simply not being eligible to get your green card through this pathway. So that's why it's pretty important to make sure it's really, time is of the essence here. I think is, again, what I mentioned a million times already, time is of the essence with this type of application. If you're selected, please make sure that you act quickly. If I was in compulsory military training in my country, like all men have to serve 1 year after age 18, should I include this record? For the most part, it's really just a statement and an explanation that you have to show, and that you have to say that I was a part of the compulsory military training. If you had any weapons training or whatever it is, you just go through those yes and no questions on the application. And if you have to answer yes to it, explain why you were a part of it. Explain how it was compulsory and how it ended after however long it was. Can the photo provided in the application be grounds for rejection for the DV lottery? I mean, it can. Are you? I believe you're referring to just the like passport photo of you. It can be a ground for rejection. For the most part, they won't reject the entire application. They'll reject the photo and they'll tell you to re-upload. And if that's the case, definitely resubmit ASAP so that you can make sure that they have what they need from you. All right, you're welcome. I don't think there's any additional open questions. If you have any, trickle them in. I'll wait a couple of more seconds. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. Any questions, consider me a resource. If you were selected, reach out to me, let us help you so that we can make sure that you get your green card by the end of the fiscal year, September the 30th. You got to do it fast. Can you kindly share your slides with us? Absolutely. Edith will be sharing the slides over the course of the next couple of days. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a good rest of your day, and I hope you have a very successful and productive week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.